For as long as I've been a Knicks fan, the Knicks have been pretty underwhelming at the point guard position. Despite New York City being known as the basketball mecca, I've seen the Knicks run through mediocre point guard after mediocre point guard. This year, the Knicks were pretty good at the point guard position after the Derrick Rose acquisition, but they still don't have a long-term point guard on the roster. The Knicks thought they were getting their long-term point guard with Frank Ntilikina back in 2017. Frank is a pretty good defender, but he lacks the aggression and offensive skills to be a good point guard in the NBA, which is why Thibodeau utilized Frank as a 3-and-D player this season. Emmanuel quickly had a really nice rookie year, but he's really more of a combo guard. The Knicks did sign an Argentinian point guard for next season named Luca Vildoza, but we've yet to see him in the NBA, so he's a big question mark. And lastly, while Derrick Rose was pretty good last year, he turned 33 before the start of next season. He's not the long-term solution at point guard, and he's an unrestricted free agent, so we don't even know if he'll be back next year. One avenue that the Knicks do have to finally land their point guard of the future is through the upcoming draft. So in this video, let's take a look at some point guard options that'll be available to the Knicks. But before we continue, please like the video and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a banger. Now let's get started. The best two point guards in this draft are obviously Cade Cunningham and Jalen Suggs. While the Knicks would love to get a hold of either of these guys, it's pretty much impossible that they can end up on the Knicks. The Knicks are looking to trade up, but both of these guys are going to end up in the top 5. The Knicks own the 19th, the 21st, the 32nd, and the 58th pick. Those are nice picks to have, but they're not good enough to trade up into the top 5. Ian Begley of SNY thinks the Knicks could possibly trade into the top 8. So while Suggs and Cade would be amazing, we're going to try to be realistic here. If the Knicks could get into the top 8, there's 2 point guards I would target, and the first one is DaVon Mitchell. Mitchell is a third-year guard out of Baylor, and he's one of those point guards that does a lot of things on the court at a very high level. Now, he is on the short side as he only measured at 6'1" with a 6'4" wingspan at the draft combine, but trust me, his skill level, athleticism, and high motor on the court more than make up for his lack of size. His lack of size certainly doesn't hurt him on the defensive end, where he was one of the best defenders in college basketball. He even won the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year award this season. He's a very physical on-ball defender, and he's also great as an off-ball defender where he averaged 2 steals per game. In fact, his defense is so good that he earned the nickname Off Night because he'll always make his opponents have an off shooting night. You already know that Thibodeau would love a point guard that gets after it defensively like that. And he's also super aggressive on the offensive end, where he's constantly putting pressure on the defense, getting into the lane, scoring at the rim, and setting his teammates up for easy baskets. And his three-point shooting is also great, where he shot 45% from 3 last year. As we can see, Mitchell is a pretty good all-around player, and he would be an absolute godsend if the Knicks could figure out a way to get him. If the Knicks traded all 4 of their picks to move up to draft Mitchell, that's a pretty good draft in my opinion. But let's move on to the other options. Next, we have Josh Giddy. Giddy is also projected to go in the lottery, and he's the second point guard that I would trade up for. Giddy is a 6'8" point guard out of the NBL, and he's one of the best passers in this draft class. In the NBL, he averaged just under 8 assists per game for his team. His court vision is just off the charts, and that combined with his great size for the position allows him to make reads with the basketball that most point guards simply cannot. He's also a penetrating guard that can break down defenders in the half court and set his teammates up for easy baskets. Having a great playmaking guard would definitely bring an element to the Knicks that they sorely lack. D Rose is a decent playmaker, but he's mostly looking for his own shot. Giddy is a legit floor general, and he would likely increase the scoring opportunities for guys like Mitchell Robinson. He's also a pretty strong finisher at the rim, and thanks to his craftiness, he often can finish over multiple defenders. Now, Giddy's outside shooting at this point of his career is pretty poor, and he also needs to get better on defense, but he brings a lot to the table at just 18 years old. If the Knicks could show some patience and let him work with Johnny Bryant, who's an excellent trainer, I believe Giddy could become an elite point guard. So those are our trade-up options. Now let's look at point guards that'll be available where the Knicks are actually picking. First, let's take a look at Sharif Cooper. Now, Cooper is another undersized guard. He's only about 6'1", but he more than makes up for it with speed, basketball IQ, and skills with the basketball. He's coming off a fantastic year at Auburn where he averaged 20 points and 8 assists per game. For starters, Cooper is great at beating defenders to the rim. He simply has elite speed that can't be taught. His first step is super explosive, and before you know it, he's gotten right by you and he's at the rim. He's also got a great handle and he can flat out make defenders look silly with his crossovers and hesitation moves. Staying in front of Cooper is pretty much impossible. He's also an excellent playmaker where he's able to use his ability to get into the paint to find his open teammates. He can pretty much make every pass in the book. Transition passes, pick and roll passes, driving kicks, he can do it all. Cooper is another guy that would give the Knicks a much needed playmaking guard. On the downside, he was pretty inefficient in his 1 year at Auburn. He only shot 39% from the field and 23% from three. Yes, Cooper gets to the rim at will, but he's a pretty poor finisher. This is where his lack of size really tends to hurt him. It's very easy for him to get blocked against good rim protectors. He also needs to work on his outside shot. He's another player that I think has a lot of potential but will require some patience. I would love to see Cooper work with Johnny Bryant because he's worked with small guards before like Damian Lillard. He probably wouldn't start day one, but give him a few years and he could be really good. Next, let's talk about Miles McBride. McBride is only about 6'1", but he's still a great defender. At the draft combine, he measured with an insane 6'9" wingspan. Those physical tools remind me a lot of Rondo, who's also 6'1" with a 6'9" wingspan, and he was a great defender. McBride is an absolute pest on defense, where his high effort and great lateral quickness and length make him a great on-ball defender. He's also a knockdown shooter where he shot 41% on his threes last season, and he can also score pretty well off the dribble, and his playmaking is solid. I think McBride at the very least could turn into an above average starter for the New York Knicks. Next, let's talk about Jared Butler, DaVon Mitchell's teammate at Baylor. Now he's really more of a combo guard, but he can slide over the point guard real easy. He does a lot of things on the court at a high level. He's a crafty ball handler and good scorer off the dribble, whether that's getting all the way to the rim or creating space for a pull-up jumper. He's a knockdown three-point shooter where he shot 42% from three on a high volume 6 attempts a game. He's also a really good on-ball defender and solid playmaker. Unfortunately, Butler isn't cleared to play right now due to a heart condition. I'm no doctor, so I have no idea how long this will keep him out. It is unclear how much this will impact his draft stock. I think if healthy, he could be a really nice draft choice. Next, let's talk about Tre Mann. Now, Tre Mann is listed at point guard, but I really see him as more of a combo guard since he's very much a score-first player, but he could really get buckets. Mann is an advanced shot creator that can score on all three levels. His sick handle at 6'5" is just flat out unfair. Tre Mann can really shake defenders to create space for his jumper or get all the way to the basket where he's a strong finisher. He also shot a very efficient 40% from three in his last year at Florida. Now he does have some playmaking abilities, but like I said, he's mostly looking for his own shot. He averaged 16 points and 3 assists per game last year. The Knicks did seem to lack advanced shot creators, especially in the playoffs, so I think he would be a pretty good find. Next, let's talk about Jaden Springer. Springer is a 6'4" point guard out of Tennessee with an intriguing skill set on both ends of the floor at the very young age of 18. Springer has great size at 6'4" with a 6'6" wingspan, and he's also very athletic, making him a great defender. He can be really disruptive defensively, and with his size, he should be able to defend both guard positions at the next level. Offensively, he's a knockdown shooter where he shot 43% on his threes his freshman year at Tennessee. His scoring and playmaking is a work in progress, but he has potential. He's able to beat defenders off the dribble very easily and finish at the rim, but he did often struggle against length. He's also a very capable playmaker that knows how to pass to his teammates off his drives. He's going to require some patience, but he could become a terrific starting point guard. Lastly, let's take a look at Hyland out of VCU. For most of the season, he was viewed as a second-round pick, but his stock has gone up after playing really well at the draft combine. One scout said that he played his way into the first round. Hyland is listed at point guard, but because he's very shoot first, I see him as more of a combo guard. But his scoring is extremely good. He's one of the better three-point shooters in this draft class. While 37% from three doesn't raise eyebrows, he did it on a super high volume, 8 attempts a game. He's excellent at creating three-pointers for himself off the dribble with moves like the step back. He's also good at getting to the rim, and he's a very crafty finisher. Hyland needs to become more of a willing passer. He could definitely play make, but he's mostly looking for his own shot. He averaged 19 points per game last year, but just 2 assists per game. He also needs to put on weight. His nickname is Bones Hyland because of his super skinny body. He's 6'4" with a long 6'9" wingspan, so he could put a lot of muscle on his frame, and an NBA weight training program could definitely help him with that. But anyway, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. Those are 8 of the top point guards in this draft outside of Cade Cunningham and Jalen Suggs, and I think any of them could be a great fit on the Knicks. Tell me in the comments which of these guys you would like to see the Knicks take. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed watching this video, and have a great rest of your day.